Hey guys, it's Andrew. I'm back, and I'm back with another video. And I'm sorry that I have not been posting a lot of content lately on my channel because I've had a few things to do, and ultimately I was a little bit busy. But I was keeping up to date with all of the stuff going on at Bayern, stuff like that. I'm actually very active on Discord, giving away some of my thoughts there. And I know that I believe since the Mainz Pokal win or something like that, I have not given a match review of how I think we've performed in our matches up until this point and stuff like that. And basically what this video is I'm gonna be making a half season review of how I think we have done so far this campaign and stuff like that. So if you are interested in hearing me out, be sure to hit that like button down below, and if you're new to my channel, go and hit that subscribe button. And yeah, let's just get started. And also, I also want to say prayers to the tragedy that happened in Magdeburg with the Christmas market and the truck driver. What happened there was absolutely terrible. Rest in peace for the ones who did lose their lives, and for those who are still alive and are injured, I hope your recovery goes according to plan and as quickly as possible. So I wanted to get that out of the way. Now we can begin. So personally, I have analyzed our performances in the games that we have gone with so far, and I'm not gonna deeply analyze each game. I'm just moreover gonna give what my overall thoughts are on the games and the performances we've had. Obviously, getting knocked out of the DFB Pokal, which is the German Cup, at home by Bayer Leverkusen, that was absolutely not ideal. We lost 1-0 that game. And here's one thing, by the way, before I analyze more about that particular game. Like, yes, we lost 1-0, and we probably perhaps should have scored with some of the players that we had. But we've known for a while that unless Kane or Musiala is the one that's shooting, our players are guaranteed to miss big chances. We've known that for a while now, whether it's Gnabry, Coman, Sane, or even at times Olise. Most of the time, our wingers just cannot finish their dinner and their chances, and that has been the reason that has cost us quite a few games this season. So about the Leverkusen loss, Neuer gets a red card very early into the 20th minute, so that already threw our game plan completely out of the window. And we tried our best to adjust to that situation. And ultimately, I actually thought we played really well despite being a man down against Leverkusen. But ultimately, Leverkusen find the goal from a set piece and they win 1-0 and we get knocked out. And that's basically what it was. I will say this. I've seen people blame this loss entirely on Vincent Kompany, and I'm like, I'm sorry, it's not his fault that his 14-goal superstar striker got injured right before this particular game. That Pavlovic was one of our best midfielders, just came back from injury. And it's also not his fault that Neuer decided to be a headless chicken and bum 20 minutes into the match. That is not Kompany's fault. Is it? Those are stupid. That is a stupid individual mistake by Neuer that ended up costing us this match. And the thing is, this is not the first time Neuer has done this. He's done this quite a bit for the past 1 or 2 seasons, even under other managers. It's just this time it ended up costing him dearly and big time, and he elbowed Frimpong in the face, and that's why he got a red card and sent off. Seriously, what is Kompany supposed to do about that? There's not a single team that, after going down to 10 men for 80 minutes, wins against a strong opponent. There's absolutely no way that is possible unless you have the most clinical players in the world, which is what we don't have right now. Musiala was our only goal-scoring threat going forward, and Leverkusen knew that, which is why they were all bodying him and trying to get into his face as much as possible and stop him from creating something. Because they knew our other players were not going to do that much shit. They knew that. They knew all they had to do was cover off Musiala after that, and they were gonna be fine. And that's exactly what they did. So, I blame that on a lack of squad planning from the board, and ultimately, a lot of our wingers underperforming when they should be doing a lot better, especially for the amount of money that they're earning at this football club. This also, by the way, brings me on to my next topic. I do not want to see another season of Sané or Gnabry or even Goretzka at my football club next season. I'm sorry, there is absolutely no place for them in this team. I know Goretzka has been performing better in recent matches, but I feel like that is only because he's actually getting pressurized by the club and by better midfielders around him, so now he's actually giving a shit instead of not doing anything. That, I think, is the only reason why Goretzka's been doing well. Against the top team, he's still going to get found out because of his lack of qualities. It's fine against the lower opposition, but try playing him against a Real Madrid or Barcelona or stuff like that, and it won't go too well. And about our wingers, Sané, the fact he's earning more at our football club than Mohamed Salah at Liverpool is an absolute disgrace. It is an absolute disgrace to Bayern Munich and to himself. This is far from the Leroy Sané that was tearing it up with Manchester City in the Premier League. He is beyond washed. I can't even say it. And even the games where he does do well a little bit, he still misses open sitters. He is by far the most frustrating and headless Bayern player I think I have seen in quite a long time over the past few years. Gnabry, he's not any better either, by the way. Even though I think Gnabry has been the lesser worse of Sané, he's still playing shit. He can't even beat his own man anymore and stuff like that. And he's consistently getting injured with muscle injuries and stuff like that. I can't even remember a time where Gnabry has stayed more than 5 games in a row fit, which is another problem regarding our injury issues and crisis. Coman and Gnabry were getting injured so many times that we were basically forced to play Leroy Sané on the wings because we had no one else who could play there. Coman, I have a big criticism of him, and that is his crossing. His crossing into the box is absolutely diabolical. It's never accurate. It is never pinpoint on target. And if he does get it on target, he usually scuffs it up with a bad touch or something like that. I will give him credit. He is much better at dribbling and beating his man than Serge Gnabry or Leroy Sané is. I will give him credit for that. But this is Bayern Munich. We need the best performers of the best performers. I'll only accept keeping Coman if he reduces his salary wage and he's only kept for being a squad rotational player. This guy cannot be our starter either for the coming seasons. We need to get a new starting left winger in the summer because I know our board is not going to do anything in January. But we need to get a new left winger in the summer, at the very least. So that's explaining about the players for me that I think should go based off of their really poor performances. What else do I want to say? I will give Kompany credit. He has actually adapted his tactics since the Barcelona loss very well, in my personal opinion. I think he's minimized a lot of Kim Min-jae and Upamecano's deficiencies in the defense. I think he's also been utilizing some other players very well that at times play out of position, like Leimer, for example, and Sacha Bowie at times, even though he fucking got injured as well recently. Man is made of glass, seriously. He performs well for 3 games and then gets injured straight off. It's so frustrating, man. And that's another point, by the way. Bayern have been in an injury crisis for, I'd say, a month or 2 now. Like, I'm not even kidding. We have 8 players right now out because of injury. So I think this winter break came at the exactly perfect timing because we're gonna get 4 or 5 of our injured players back when the season restarts back for the second half of the season. So yeah, that is another thing I wanted to criticize about. We basically just have a lack of squad depth. That's ultimately what it is. Kompany's trying everything he can with this current squad and group of players, but it's very clear we have some limited deficiencies in this team. Now, I don't think Kompany has been perfect either. There have been games where I have questioned his in-game substitutions and starting 11 choices. But ultimately, for the most part, I think he's done almost everything he could. Personally, I think he's made our defense a lot more stable. I think our midfield looks a lot better. Kimmich is playing out of his skin. Davies is starting to look like 2020 Davies again, which I didn't think was gonna be possible, but here we are. And is there any other players that I can give Kompany credit for rejuvenating? Limer, even though I thought he was already pretty good under Tuchel, I think he's gotten even better under Company. The amount of relentless hard work and pressing this guy does, sure, he might not be the strongest defensively, but my God, he is so important to Bayern Munich's ball retention. And speaking of Upamecano, by the way, I gotta give him massive credit. Because when he was absent in the game against Mainz, I saw how important this guy actually was. Because so much of our build-up play in the attack that comes out from the back is because Upamecano initiated it. Or Manuel Neuer initiated. But since Neuer got himself injured, Upa had to do that job himself for the most part, which has been very difficult for him, which is at times why we've conceded 1 or 2 goals here and there against lower opposition. But that's kind of expected when you're giving Upa more than one job to do. But I think he's done well enough to do and cover those sorts of things. Kim Min-jae, the fact he's been carrying a leg problem for quite some time and he's still performing very well for us, I give him massive credit for that as well. Pavlovic, as usual, he's been brilliant in Bayern Munich's system. A little bit slow coming back from injury, I will say. He hasn't been perfect since he came back from injury, but I assume he'll be much better come the second half of the season. Goretzka, I've already mentioned. I think he's done a pretty decent job, even though I still think he's got to go. Kimmich, I'll never understand why people criticize this guy. He is Bayern Munich through and through. Every time I see this guy not playing or not playing well, Bayern doesn't play well. Ultimately, he is the one who can dictate the play, who can create a great chance for one of our attackers out of nothing, basically, and they can score goals. He's been a very important, vital part of this Bayern Munich team and a completely different player than the one that was under Thomas Tuchel. So another credit for that. Musiala, I think he's been our best player. He's been by far our best player so far this season, and I don't think that's even a question when it comes to people's opinions and stuff like that. Yes, I know Harry Kane has got the majority of our goals, but a lot of those goals would not have come without the work rate of Musiala and Olise. So yeah, that leads me on to Olise. By far been our best winger this season. Without a doubt, has been our best winger by far so far this season. And Harry Kane, as usual, he can ghost sometimes a little bit in games, but he still does his job ultimately of scoring goals when we need him to, and that's all I can really ask for off of him as a striker. So ultimately, that was me talking about the squad and of course the Leverkusen loss. Let's talk a little bit about a little bit brief about our other games. We of course lost to Mainz 2-1 for being our first league loss of the season, and that was easily our worst performance of the season. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Our players just did not turn up whatsoever in that particular game. Every one of them almost played shit that game, if I'm being completely honest. But I also think that could be because of the lack of squad depth we have when it comes to rotation, and ultimately our players getting tired after a Champions League midweek game against Shakhtar Donetsk that we obliterated them 5-1. So yeah, we're out of the Pokal. We're still first in the Bundesliga, 4 points ahead of second placed Bayer Leverkusen, which is crucial, and I believe 8 points ahead of 8 or 7 points ahead of third placed Eintracht Frankfurt and fourth placed RB Leipzig. So that's pretty good as well. Shout out to Mainz, by the way, who's in fifth place. They beat Bayern and Frankfurt back to back. So they've been having a little bit of a resurgence as of late. Champions League talk. We're in the top 10 now. So we're in a pretty good position to get in the automatic top 8 spot, because our last 2 Champions League matches coming up in January are Feyenoord away from home, which could be a little bit tricky. Feyenoord are not a terrible team, but Feyenoord is a team that is 4th right now in the Eredivisie. So, and PSV beat them 3-0. So I'm definitely expecting a win, a comfortable win against Feyenoord, perhaps by 2 or 3 goals. And our last one is basically a guaranteed win no matter what lineup we put out, because it's against Slovan Bratislava at home, which is basically a guaranteed 3 points in my opinion. So we win those 2 games and we should be top 8. We should be comfortably top 8 by then. After the break, we have Borussia Mönchengladbach away from home to re-kick off the rest of our Bundesliga campaign. We now have got to push on, win the Bundesliga, and then see how far we can go in the Champions League. Because I still think it is possible for us to get to the final if the luck of the draw is in our favor. But we have to get to the top 8 first. That has to be a must. So ultimately, of our half season up until this point, half season review, I'm giving Bayern and company a B+. Like, it's not perfect, don't get me wrong, but I feel like for the most part, they've done what they could. So that's personally, in my opinion, my thoughts on Bayern Munich season so far. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. I might be looking at making another video ranking on who I think have been the best performing teams in Europe so far. So be sure to look out for that. And yeah, that's pretty much all I need to say. And I'll see you all in the next video. Take care and peace out, guys.